Are we having a nice time?
A ste uzbuđeni?
Are you having fun?
Da li se zabavate?
Are you excited?
Jeste uzbuđeni?
Are you fired up?
Ali ste zakurjeni?
We are here to have fun,
Mi smo ovdje da bismo se zabavali,
to have a great time.
da bismo provodili divno vrijeme.
Because here we are speaking about our dreams.
Jer ovdje ćemo pričati o svojim snovima.
And our dreams are important enough for us.
I naši snovi su nama dovoljno važni.
The difference in here from the people outside of here
Razlika između nas i ljudi koji nisu ovdje
is that these people, you here,
je da mi, ljudi ovdje,
know that you deserve your dreams.
mi znamo da mi zaslužimo svoje
And we
snove.
are doing something about it.
I mi nešto radimo da bismo to postigli.
You are making the difference.
Mi pravimo razliku.
You have decided that the only thing that you deserve is your freedom.
Mi smo odlučili da ono što želimo je sloboda.
Applaud yourselves for what you are doing and what you're becoming.
Nagradite sami sebe za ono što radite, za što ćete napraviti.
I feel so nice being here
Zaista mi je drago da sam ovdje.
with this wonderful welcome.
Drago mi je ste me lijepo pozdravili.
I already feel like I'm home.
Osjećam se kao što da sam kući.
At this first part of our seminar,
Na ovom prvom dijelu seminara
I'm supposed to speak to you about a little bit about myself,
ću vam malo kazati o sebi,
to introduce myself to you,
da možete da vidite tko sam ja.
and also to tell you some things about how I started this business.
I isto tako ću vam kazati neke stvari o tome kako sam započeo da gradim ovaj posao.
But I have a problem.
Ali imam jedan problem.
I don't know from where to start and where to finish.
Ne znam odakle da počnem i kako da završim.
I will use the very classical way.
Zato ću ići nekim klasičkim putem.
I was born in November of 1976.
Rođen sam bio novembra 70
I'm 23 years old,
imam 23 godine.
and I was the third child in a family that already had two children,
Bio sam treće djece u porodici koja je već imala dvoje.
my brother and sister,
Imam brata i sestra
who when I was born were already teenagers.
koji su bili već najstnici kad sam se ja rodio.
So you see, I came very late, out of nowhere,
Tako da vidite da sam se kasno pojavio, kasno sam se rodio.
in a period when my parents, the last thing they were expecting was a new child.
Znači moji roditelji nisu očekivali još jedno dete.
When I was 3 years old, my parents divorced.
Kad sam imao 3 godine su se mi roditelji rastali.
Fortunately, I do not remember anything from that period. I was too young.
Sretan sam da se ništa ne sjećam jer sam bio tad premlad.
So practically, I'm raised up by my mother.
Tako da praktički uzgojila me samo majka.
I see my father very rarely.
Vrlo rijetko sam vidio svog oca.
My father is a mining engineer, and my mother used to own shops in the area of fashion and clothes.
Otac mi je bio inženjer, a majka je imala neke dućane sa odjelom i takvim stvarima.
While I was a child,
Dok sam bio dijete,
I wasn't doing the ordinary things the other children were doing.
nisam radio obične stvari kao što druga djeca.
Instead of going out with my friends and playing on the ground,
Umjesto da bi izlazio van i igrao s drugim prijateljima,
I preferred to stay at home in my room, playing by myself and reading books and drawing pictures.
radio sam bio sam sa sobom, recimo ostao sam u stanu, igrao se sam sa sobom ili crtao slike i tako dalje.
I was very afraid of people.
Bojao sam se drugih ljudi.
I was shy and quiet,
Bio sam tih i miran.
very introverted.
Da, introvertiran u sebe.
I didn't like to see many people.
Nisam želio puno ljudi oko sebe.
One day when I was 10 years old,
Kad mi je bilo 10 godina,
I was watching TV and I was watching a series about Franz Liszt's life, the composer.
kad mi je bilo 10 godina gledao sam televiziju i tamo je bila jedna serija u životu Franza Liszta.
And I don't remember what was being said.
Ne sjećam se šta su kazali,
The only thing that I remember is that I saw a person with nice clothes
ali ono što se sjećam je da sam vidio osobu koja je bila divno odjevena
playing music on a stage in front of thousands of people
i na jednoj bini je svirala muziku ispred 1000 i 1000 ljudi.
on a big black shiny piano.
Na jednom velikom crnom pijaninu, klaviru.
I liked this picture very much.
I to je bilo ono što se mi stvarno sviđalo.
You see, just one picture on the screen and a dream was born.
Vidite, samo jedna slika na ekranu i već su se moji snovi bili su rođeni.
Just one picture on the screen and a journey, a lifetime journey started.
Samo jedna slika koja je pokrenula moj život u nekom pravcu.
So I asked from my mother to start learning the piano and I started taking lessons.
I tako sam zamolio majku da mogu da učim klavir i počeo učiti.
I was doing very well
Od početka mi išlo dobro.
and my ego started to develop.
I naravno dobio sam samopouzdanje.
When I was a teenager, I was even more isolated
Kad sam bio tinejdžer, bio sam još više izdvojen.
You see, I was an artist.
Znate, pa bio sam umjetnik,
I was very snob,
bio sam snobovski,
very arrogant,
veoma arogantan.
living in my own world together with Bach and Beethoven.
Zajedno u mom svijetu živio sam sam i s još nekim umjetnika kao Bach i Beethoven.
In another epoch.
Sasvim u drugom svijetu.
So, you see, it does have to do with from where you come from.
Dakle, vidite, nema veze to od kuda vi dolazite.
We all come from somewhere.
Svi dođemo od nekud smo došli.
It has to do with where you want to go.
Ali najbitnije ono u životu je kamo vi želite da idete.
Where you want to go.
Kamo želite da idete.
The years passed by.
I tako su godine prolazile.
I continued my piano lessons.
Ja sam nastavio da učim klavir.
And while I was learning the piano taught me some very important lessons for my life and for this business.
I uz to kad sam učio da sviram klavir, naučio sam neke nauke koji su mi isto pomogli i dobro su mi došli u životu.
Among others, it taught me that what you find difficult at the beginning,
naučio sam jednu stvar, da ono što sam vam u početku čini teško,
it becomes very easy and natural in the process.
S vremenom sve postaje lakše i jednostavnije, prirodno.
It taught me that for achieving what I wanted,
Sviranje klavira me naučilo da ako želim nešto postići,
I had to have a day by day routine committed to discipline and hard work.
Treba da radim svaki dan, dan za dnevom, svaki dan i da sam predan tomu.
It taught me that success is not a matter of one day or one month.
Naučio sam da uspjeh ne dođe u jednom danu ili u jednom mjesecu.
Success is a lifetime journey that requires persistence and faith.
Nego da je uspjeh je put, neko putovanje koje traje možda cijeli život.
It taught me that if you are trying to take shortcuts,
naučio sam da ako tražite prečice,
not listening to your teacher because you think you know better,
ako ne slušate nekog učitelja i mislite da vi znate bolje,
what happens is that you can get injured in your hands and cannot play anymore. You go backwards.
Kod pijana vam se može da se dogodi to da oštetite svoje ruke i ne možete više da svirate, zato nazadujete.
And most of all, it taught me to appreciate a good teacher.
Najviše sam naučio to da trebam da poštujem dobrog učitelja.
When I was 18 years old, I entered the university studying law.
Kod 18-19 godina sam započeo da studiram na fakultetu pravo.
I don't know how I ended up studying law.
Interesantno je to da sad ne znam kako da sam odlučio da studiram pravo.
I never wanted to be a lawyer.
Nikad nisam želio biti odvjetnik.
It was a decision made by others for me.
To je bila odluka koju su mi drugi stavili.
As a teenager, I just said okay.
Kao najstnik ja sam jednostavno to prihvatio.
You see, sometimes as teenagers we make decisions that determine our whole life.
Vidite, interesantno je to da kad u životu kao tinejdžeri mi primimo neke odluke koje utječu na naš cijeli život.
Many in here in this hall are living their lives dependent on what they decided when they were 16 or 15 years old.
Puno nas ovdje koji smo u dvorani sada živimo onako kako smo odlučili kad nam je bilo, ne znam, 15-16 godina.
But I have an important question to make to you.
Ali gledajte, sad bi vam postavio jedno veoma važno pitanje.
Today,
danas,
if you had a very important decision to make in your life,
ako trebate vi danas nešto da se veoma važno da se odlučite,
which has to do with your future,
što je veoma važno za vašu budućnost,
would you take counsel from a teenager?
Da li biste vi uzeli nasvijet od nekog tinejdžera?
I don't know.
Mislim da ne.
Fortunately, we are able to change our own destiny.
Možemo da smo sretni da imamo utjecaj na to da mi promijenimo svoju budućnost.
We can always find the courage to change and draw a new route.
Uvijek pronađemo novi put.
When really we feel inside that there is a true call.
Tek tada kad vi u sebi osjetite jedan pravi klic, poziv da nešto napravite.
So I was studying law at the university.
Znači ja sam studirao pravo na fakultetu.
I was playing 6 hours piano a day.
6 satove dnevno sam vežbao klavir.
I was learning the violin.
I uz to sam učio violinu.
I was learning to sing opera.
Otišao sam da gledam operu.
I had extra musical lessons.
Još sam imao ekstra satove.
And I had a big dream to become an orchestra conductor.
I naravno, moji snovi su bili da postanem dirigent.
My mother on the meanwhile,
a moja majka je u to vrijeme
had a shop selling clothes.
Imala dućane gdje je prodala odjelo.
And the income produced by that shop was quite good, so that we had a good life.
I novac koji je zarađivala svog posla bio je dobar, tako da smo dobro živjeli.
In spite of this, we felt that something had to change.
Ali usprko svemu mi smo osjećali da treba nešto da promijenimo.
The shop was every year, every season, less and less profitable.
Jer svake godine dućan je bio manje profitabilan, svake godine je bilo manje novca.
My mother had decided to close it and she was looking to do something else.
I moja majka je odlučila da zatvori dućane i da pronađe neku novu mogućnost.
But she was 57 years old.
A tad je imala 57 godina.
What choices does somebody at his 57 to start something new?
Šta mislite koje su mogućnosti osobi u toliko godina da može nešto novo da započne?
So,
I?
we started a business.
I započeli smo posao.
Now, when I say we started a business,
Kad kažem
usually
to,
people see a plan.
prosječno čovjek zamisli po to vjerovatno da nam je neko pokazao plan.
They have questions.
Imaš pitanja,
They go to the follow-up
ideš na drugi termin,
within 1 or 2 days.
nakon dan i 2 dana,
And then some of their questions are answered, and
I-
they investigate, and they start the business.
i naravno neka pitanja vam se odgovore, vi istražite neke stvari i tako započnete.
This is what usually happens.
Pa to je ono prosječno što se dogodi u ovom
It is
poslu.
not what always happens.
Ali uvijek se to ne dogodi.
It was some months before the opening of the Greek market
To se događalo par mjeseca prije nego što se grčko tržište otvorilo.
when my mother met a lady that she had to see for years, a friend that she had to see for years at the street.
Moja majka je srela neko prijateljicu koju je već par godina nije vidjela
And this lady said to her,
i ova žena joj kaže:
"Do you know anybody who is interested in having a key position in a company coming next year to Greece?"
da li možda ti znaš neko koji bi želio jednu dobru poziciju u nekoj tvrtki koja će sljedeće godine doći u Grčku?
A friend of mine from the USA has sent me some material, some tapes, from which I understand nothing.
Ta žena je kazala: neki moj prijatelj slao mi neke materijale i to, ali u biti ja ništa ne znam.
But there is also a letter with it that it says that this is something good.
Ali mogu zaključiti uz to da je to nešto dobro.
It was obvious that she didn't have a clue about this business.
Znači, logički je bilo da ova žena koja je pričala mojoj majki nije imala pojma o ovom poslu.
So my mother said, "Give me this material and I will investigate it with my own eyes."
I zato je moja majka logički kazala njoj: daj mi materijale koje imaš pa ću ja sama vidjeti šta ima u tome.
Everything we had was an Amway brochure of the marketing plan of how it is in the USA.
I sve što su imali bila jedna brošura marketing plana kako to izgleda u Americi.
And 2 tapes of Bob Andrews speaking to an American audience.
I bile su još 2 kasete na kojima je pričao Bob Andrews američkoj publici.
So we put a tape at the tape recorder to listen to what it was.
I tako stavili smo kasetu u kasetar da bismo slušali.
We had expectation. My mother was looking for something to do.
I naravno nešto smo očekivali i tražili smo posao.
And we started listening.
I počeli smo slušati.
We couldn't stand it for a minute.
Ali nije to trajalo više nego minutu.
The American way of lifestyle.
Američki način života.
The dream.
Snovi.
I was ready to puke.
Bio sam spreman da povraćam.
It was so unfamiliar with the European culture.
Bilo je to tako drugčije, tako nelogički nama, Europejcima.
I was living at the era of Bach and Beethoven.
A ja sam živio u svijetu Baha i Beethovena.
I couldn't understand the American way of living and I didn't want it to understand.
A nisam uopće razumio kako žive Amerikanci, njihov način i biti nisam ni želio to.
So we took all this material and we put it aside for a lot of months.
I tako jednostavno ovaj materijal smo stavili na stranu za par mjeseci.
We forgot everything about it.
I zaboravili sve o tom.
One day this lady called
Nekog dana ova žena nazove
and said that there was going to be the opening of the market in a hotel
i kaže da će se tržište otvoriti, da će biti u jednom hotelu otvoritev
and that this friend of hers from America would be in the hotel and we could meet
i da
him.
će taj njen prijatelj iz Amerike doći i biti tamo na ovom otvaranju ovog hotela.
So my mother went there.
Znači, dakle, otišli smo u ovaj hotel.
Of course I didn't go.
Naravno, ja nisam išao.
There were too many people there for me.
Bilo je tamo previše ljudi za me.
But she went.
Ali ona je otišla.
And she met this person.
I srela je tu osobu.
It was a 15 minutes.
To je trajalo 15 minuta.
It was for 15 minutes.
15 minuta.
And this person sold her the kit.
I ta osoba ju naravno upisala, prodala je početni paket.
And he sold her 2 tickets for the opening rally of the market.
I prodala je i 2 karte za početni seminar kad se tržište otvori.
So that I could come also.
Da bi mogao i ja da dođem.
That was all.
I to je bilo sve.
My mother didn't show a plan, see a plan.
Niko i nije pokazao marketing plan.
Didn't have the time to have objections
Uopće nije imala vremena da bi kazala što se ne sviđa možda.
or excuses.
Ili izgovore da bi potražila.
There was no follow-up.
Nije bilo potermina.
There was no startup.
Nije bilo početka.
Actually, she didn't even know what she bought.
U biti nije ni znala zašto ide.
She just took these things and came home.
Jednostavila, kupila ove stvari i s njim došla kući.
And she came at home, we opened the kit,
I kući smo to otvorili, ovo kutio,
we took out the products.
pogledali proizvode koji su bili unutra
It was a great disappointment.
i veoma smo bili razočarani,
You
naravno.
see, we were used to the products, how they are in the market with fancy colors and shapes.
Naravno, gledajte, ljudi smo navikli na proizvode koje kupujemo u dućanima, koji dobro izgledaju, opisane šarene boje i tako dalje.
And there in the kit there was a bottle of 1 liter with no colors,
A tamo u kutiji bila jedna boca od 1 litra bez boje,
with a tap outside of it.
koja je imala poklopac gore,
It was very primitive.
što je izgledalo jednostavno veoma primitivno.
Anyway, me as the big reader of the family,
Ali ja sam kao ono veliki vođa naše familije,
I looked at the kit and took immediately the Amway manual.
naravno ja sam pogledao kutiju i uzeo upute za MV.
So I started reading this manual to understand how this business works.
I počeo čitati ove upute da vidim kako ovaj posao funkcionira.
Can you imagine that?
Jer si možete to da zamislite?
To learn the business from the Amway manual?
Da se vi ovog posla učite iz upute od MV-a.
So I started reading and reading about circles. I didn't understand anything.
I tako sam čitao i biti ništa razumio.
About numbers, I couldn't figure out how they work.
Nisam mogao shvatiti kako ove brojke da stavim zajedno.
Time passed, the night came, I was reading and reading,
Vreme je prošlo, već je bio večer, noć je došla.
and suddenly I stopped.
I jednostavno sam stao.
I stopped at a certain page.
Stao sam na jednoj stranici
I was excited.
i bio sam uzbuđen.
The Amway manual motivated me.
Ove upute od MV-a su me motivirale.
Can you imagine that?
Da li možete to da zamislite?
I stopped.
Ustavio sam se.
Listen what happened.
Slušajte šta se dogodilo.
I stopped at the pins.
Stao sam gdje su bile značke.
I didn't know what it was.
Nisam znao šta to znači,
I didn't know anything.
nisam imao pojma.
I just liked these pins.
Ali sviđali su se me ove značke.
And I wanted the biggest.
I želio sam najveću.
The biggest available in there.
Najveća što je bila tamo moguća.
So I ran to my mother's room in the middle of the night.
I naravno to je bilo usred noći, ja utrčim majki u sobu,
I woke her up
budim je
and I announced her
i ja njoj
that we
kažem,
are going to be crown ambassadors.
mi ćemo biti Crown ambasadori.
I didn't know why.
Nisam znao zašto.
I didn't know what it was.
Nisam znao šta to znači,
I wanted the biggest pin.
ali želio sam najveću značku.
You need to understand something.
Nešto trebate razumjeti.
Our upline, this lady,
Naša upline, ova žena,
said to us nothing else.
nama nije ništa drugo kazala.
She disappeared.
Jednostavno je nestala.
We haven't seen her ever since.
Nismo ju vidjeli, od tad dalje nikad ju nismo više vidjeli.
Actually, she calls us every year,
U biti sad ona nas svake godine jedan put zove
asking us what she has to do to renew.
i pita nas šta treba ona napravi da može još da ostane u ovom poslu, da produži članstvo.
So my mother went to the opening rally
I tako moja majka otišla na ovaj otvoritveni seminar,
with a friend,
naravno s prijateljem,
because there were too many people there for me.
jer za mene bilo je naravno previše ljudi.
And I stayed home trying to understand from this manual how this business works.
I ja sam kod kuće pokušao da razumijem kako ovo radi iz onih uputa koje sam imao.
My mother came back different.
Ali majka kad je došla natrag bila je sasvim drukčija.
I couldn't figure out what was happening.
I ja nisam mogao da shvatim šta se sad dogodilo.
She didn't like the seminar.
Naravno bila je tamo na seminaru.
The music was too loud.
Aha, nije ostala do kraja jer je muska bila preglasna.
The seats were uncomfortable.
Sjedala nisu bila dovoljno udobna.
People were clapping and yelling and being like crazy.
Ljudi su pleskali i bili uzbuđeni.
Actually, she didn't understand anything of what was being said on stage.
U biti ona nije ništa čula što se tamo pričalo na bini.
But she looked angry and determined.
Ali izgledala je ono ljuto i odlučeno.
When my mother looks angry and determined,
Ali znate kad moja majka izgleda ljuto i odlučeno,
be careful, something is happening.
pazite, nešto se događa.
So
I
she saw the recognitions on stage,
vidjela je priznanja na pozornici.
and she was angry with herself
I bila je ljuta na samu sebe,
because she wasn't on stage.
jer ona nije bila na bini.
And at that moment,
I u tom momentu,
she decided to build this business.
u tom momentu ona je odlučila da izgradi ovaj posao.
She went out the next week,
Sljedeći tjedan je otišla van,
without knowing anything about the business,
bez da je bilo šta znala o ovom poslu.
without knowing that a plan exists.
Bilo da je znala da postoji marketing plan.
She started saying with great enthusiasm to people that we are going to make lots of money, sign here.
I ona uzbuđena počela ljudima da kaže mnogo novca ćemo zaraditi, samo potpiši ovdje.
And she sponsored 13 frontline the first 5 days.
I u prvih 5 dana smo zorila 13 frontova.
Of course, none of them are in our business today
Naravno, niko od njih danas nije više u poslu, logički.
without a system.
Bez sistema.
Anyway, we didn't know anything.
U biti, mi nismo znali ništa.
We were clueless.
Bili smo bez pojma,
But a decision was made.
ali važno je da smo odlučili.
We were going to do this business.
Ovaj posao ćemo napraviti.
So additionally to that,
I kao još nešto uz to,
the next week my mother sold her shop.
sljedeći tjedan majka je prodala svoj dućan.
15 days after she started this business.
15 dana nakon što je započela svoj posao.
And she decided to build this business full time.
I odlučila je da idi svim vremenom u ovaj posao.
This was a great mistake.
A to je bila jedna velika napaka.
This
Pogreška.
business is designed to work next to your job.
Gledajte, ovaj posao je napravljen onako da ga vi radite uz svoj posao.
It works better with it than it works without it.
Ovaj posao bolje radi ako ga radite pored svog posla.
It needs its time to develop and produce significant income.
Jer ovaj posao treba vreme da vi napravite neku zaradu.
What we have done 15 days after we started the business was a great mistake.
A to da smo pustili svoj klasičan posao nakon 15 dana kad smo započeli, to je bila greška.
Because we had no other source of income.
Jer nismo imali nikog prihoda bilo gdje.
So the months that followed were very difficult for us financially.
I sljedeći mjeseci koji su dolazili bili su financijski veoma teški za nas.
We started selling everything we had, all our possessions, in order to survive.
Jednostavno smo počeli da prodavamo stvari koje smo imali da
There was
bismo
no question
preživjeli.
about the business.
Nije bilo pitanja o poslu.
It was just a bad decision to leave her shop.
Bila je samo odluka da se ovaj dućan ostavi.
Anyway, we became 9% without knowing anything about technique.
I znači tako, bez da smo bilo šta znali u tehniki, bilo čemu, postali smo 9%.
Ovdje strana A završava. Molimo, okrenite kazetu.
After 6 months building the business, full time, we dropped to 3% because we didn't use the business, the system.
I naravno, gledajte to, nakon 6 mjeseci, kad smo sa svim vremenom gradili ovaj posao, pali smo na 3% jer nismo imali sistema.
Through these months,
I kroz ove mjesece,
we realized somehow
jednostavno smo doznali jednu stvar,
that there is an organization called N21 available.
da postoji neka organizacija koja se zove N21.
And to make the story short, we started listening to some tapes and going to the BBSs.
I naravno da skratimo sad ovu priču, počeli smo da slušamo neke trakove i otili na neke seminare.
Now, when we are talking about a BBS, don't think what you are here.
A sad da se razumemo jednu stvar, BBS za nas nije značilo ono što vidite danas ovdje.
The first BBS in Greece was about 300 clueless people
Prvi BBS izgledaju recimo 300 ljudi koji nemaju pojma.
without significant recognitions on stage.
Bez nekog velikog rekognitiona, priznanja na odru.
But we had worldwide leaders teaching the system for us.
Ali imali smo svjetske vođe koji su nas učili sistema.
And we started listening to what was being told.
I tako smo počeli slušati ono što su nam kazali.
We started realizing how important the system and the BBSs are for our business.
Počeli smo shvaćati kako je sistem važan za izgradnju ovog posla.
Anyway, we didn't have any other choice.
Ali u biti nismo imali ni jedne druge šanse.
We were listening because we had to go on.
Slušali smo jer mi smo trebali dalje.
About 6 months after we started the business,
I nakon 6 mjeseci od početka,
by listening the tapes and the starter pack,
uz slušanje trakova i početnog paketa,
we realized
saznali smo,
that somehow people in this business show a plan.
shvatili smo jednostavno da očito ljudi u ovom poslu kažu neki plan.
And then we thought that this whiteboard mentioned on the Amway catalog
I onda smo mislili da ova bijela tabla tamo u katalogu,
probably is for that reason.
da vjerovatno ova koristi za taj razlog.
So we bought the whiteboard,
I tako smo kupili onu bijelu tablu,
we put it in the middle of our living room,
stavili smo usred dnevnog boravka
and we said that now we have to show the business to the people with this whiteboard.
i tako mi tamo stojimo i kažemo, gle,
And what is
sad
the-
mi trebamo da ljudima pokažemo posao s ovom tablom.
And what is the most natural thing to do at that time?
I koja je najprirodnija stvar da se napravi?
We stayed up all night
Ustaneš budan cijelu noć
and we invented our own plan.
i sumiš svoj vlastiti plan.
It went something like this.
Izgledali otprilike onako.
Here's you.
Ovdje ste vi.
Now, you know people.
Znači vi znate ljude.
You show them the business.
Vi im pokažete posao
some of them will start. Let's say 4.
Neki od njih će započeti, recimo otprilike 4.
The first one is not very good. Let's say he has 2 downlines and it's about 3% and that's all. He's satisfied.
Kažemo, prvi nije baš ono najbolji, ima 2 downline, a on je 3% i to je nema dovoljno.
The second one is just a customer, 50 points.
Drugi kažemo, on je samo stranka, ima 50 bodova.
The third one is your aunt.
A treći je vaša teta.
She doesn't want to build this business.
Ona ne želi uopće da gradi ovaj posao.
But maybe she sponsors, let's say she sponsors her sister,
Ali recimo da ona sponzorira svoju sestru,
who also doesn't want to build this business.
koja isto tako ne želi da gradi ovaj posao.
And let's say that her sister sponsors her son,
I recimo da ova njena sestra sponzorira svog sina,
and this one is dynamic and wants to build the business.
a ovaj dinamičan i želi da zgradi ovaj posao.
And let's say that he has 4 in his front
I
line.
kažemo da on sad sponzorira 4 ljude.
You see, it doesn't matter if your front line doesn't do anything,
Znači, ako vaš front ništa ne radi, to ništa ne znači.
because he can lead you to people
Jer
who will
on
do something.
može da vas dovede do ljudi koji će nešto napraviti.
And the fourth one is a good one, the great
I
one.
ona četvrti, on je pravi, on je ja.
Let's say he has 20 people in his group and he's
kažemo
at 12%.
Sad ima on 20 ljudi u grupi, on je na 12%.
Now, if you put all this together, you're at
I
15%.
znači, ako sve ovo stavite zajedno, vi ste 15%.
And you make about
I
$500.
zaradite otprilike $500.
This is the business.
To je posao.
If you like it,
Ako želite,
you can sign here.
možete ovdje da potpišete.
If you don't like it,
Ako ne želite,
no problem.
nema problema.
This was the plan.
I to je bio plan.
You see, it's no matter what you show and say.
Vidite jedna stvar, nema veze, bilo šta kažete, bilo šta rečete.
It's not the plan that will sponsor people. This plan was awful.
Plan neće da sponzorira ljude, plan je bio užasan, grozan.
It's your eyes that will sponsor people.
Ali vaše oči,
It's
to
your
je stvar koja
enthusiasm
sponzorira.
that will sponsor people.
Vaše uzbuđenje koje može da sponzorira ljude.
It's the reason why you are building this business that will sponsor people.
Razlog zašto vi radite ovu stvar, to je
No
ono što
matter what you
sponzorira.
are saying.
A ne one riječi koje vi kažete.
This plan that I just told you about,
Ovaj plan o kojem sam sad pričao,
because of my mother's eyes,
zbog oči moje majke,
of course I wasn't showing the plan.
naravno ja
People
nisam
were not
pokazivao
my quality
plan
at
jer
that time.
bilo previše ljudi tamo, naravno.
This plan sponsored
Ovaj plan je sponzorirao
4 DDs,
4 Didije,
one executive DD Ruby
jednog
direct,
executive Didija, Rubija
many golds and silvers.
i puno goldova i silvera.
It's the eyes that sponsor people.
Oči su one koje
There is
sponzoriraju.
nobody in here that I cannot show a plan tomorrow, today,
Nema niko koji ne mogao i danas čak ili sutra da pokaže plan.
if he has a dream.
Ako imate snove.
You need a dream to have results, not a
Trebate snove,
technique.
trebate žutnjo da nešto napravite.
Anyway,
I
one day,
nekog dana
the phone rang
zazvoni telefon.
in the middle of the night.
Usred noći.
And it was September 1996.
I to je bilo u 9. mjesecu 96. godine.
My mother woke up.
Naravno, moja majka se probudi.
Yes?
Yes. Da.
This is Peter Cox.
Ovdje je Peter Cox.
Until then, we didn't know anything else about Peter Cox than that he was a diamond and that he was speaking the starter pack, nothing else.
Pa znate, mi biti nismo znali ništa o Peteru Coxu, znali smo to da je on dijamant neki i da je tamo u početnom paketu priča na nekim kasetama.
Are you serious about this business?
Jeste vi ozbiljni u vezi ovog posla?
Yes, yes.
Da.
Okay, I will be in Athens in 10 days. We will meet for 10 minutes at Hotel Hilton.
Dobro, ja sam u Atenama za 10 dana, 10 minuta imam vremena, dobit ćemo se u hotelu Hilton.
And our first meeting with our upline was arranged.
I naš prvi susret sa našim uplineom bio je sređen, dogovoren.
After 6 months in the business,
Nakon 6 mjeseci u poslu,
building it full time,
kad smo ga gradili puno vrijeme,
it would be the first time we would speak to an upline.
to je bio prvi put da smo mogli da pričamo s našim uplineom.
We had caught his attention.
I stigli smo njegovu pažnju.
And there is a strong message in this for you.
I ovdje ima jedna velika poruka i za vas.
Maybe your sponsor has quit the business.
Možda je sponzor čovjek koji je vas pozvao u posao prestao da radi, opustio.
We have had more than 10 uplines who have quit.
Mi smo imali 10 ljudi iznad nas koji su odustali.
Maybe you know more than your upline knows in this business.
Možda vi znate više nego čovjek koji je vas pozvao.
So what?
Pa što?
So what?
Pa što?
You build the business
Vi izgradite posao
and help will come.
i pomoć će doći.
Your DDs and your emeralds
Didi i Smaragdi,
are looking for you.
ovi ljudi ovdje traže vas.
Your DDs and emeralds are looking for you who are looking for your dreams.
Vaši smaragdi, vaši didevi traže vas, traže vaše snove.
Help will come.
Pomoć će doći.
The people who build this business, no matter what,
Ljudi koji su zgradili posao, nema veze bilo kako.
are never lost.
Ljudi koji su gradili, koji nisu odustali, oni su postigli.
Of course, Peter could not imagine that we, after 6 months in the business, didn't know anything about recommended tapes.
Gledajte, jedna stvar, Peter nije naravno nakon 6 mjeseci što smo mi bili u poslu, on nije mogao shvatiti da mi ne znamo ništa šta je to preporučeni program kaseta.
That we didn't go to the open because we didn't know that an open existed.
On nije znao da mi uopće ne odlazimo na open planove jer mi nismo znali da postoje open planovi.
So we were starting realizing all these things of the system
I počeli smo shvaćati neke stvari sistema.
through the discussions we had.
U biti kroz razgovor koji smo održavali.
I remember in one trip when he came to Greece,
Sjećam se kad je jedan put Peter došao u Grčku,
he asked us,
pitao nas je
how many people do you have at the open?
koliko ljudi imate na open planovima.
We looked each other,
Nisu se pogledali s majkom,
we looked him,
pogledali njega
and he realized something was wrong here.
i on naravno shvatio nešto ovdje fali, nešto ne štima.
And he said,
I kaže,
well, the open, this that we go people every week, we
pa
bring
da,
people.
znate, open plan, ono svaki tjedan kad idete, vodite ljude tamo.
Of course, we were very shy to tell him that we didn't use the open.
Naravno, bilo nam je, sramili smo se da mu kažemo da mi uopće ne vodimo tamo ljude.
So we said,
I kazali smo,
aha, you mean the open?
da, open, da.
We don't have many people there.
Pa nemamo puno ljudi tamo, znate.
So he said,
I on kaže,
well, use the open.
pa koristite
The open
open.
is your most powerful tool every week.
Pa to vam je ono najveći alat za izgradnju ovog
It
posla.
creates momentum.
Ustvarja vam momentum.
The biggest groups have the more people at the open.
Što je veća grupa, ima više ljudi na openu.
Use it.
Upotrebite to.
We didn't say anything.
Mi nismo ništa kazali.
The next day we called the Network 21 office.
Mi smo jednostavno pozvali Office Network 21.
Where is the open?
Gdje je uopće open?
And at that week, all the group was at the open.
I tog tjedna cijela naša grupa bila je na openu.
With the same way, we realized everything about recommended tapes, books,
I na
the
isti
system,
način-
everything.
Na isti način naravno shvatili smo kako i s kasetama, preporučenim knjigama i tako dalje.
We were hopeless.
A bili smo,
But we had one important quality.
a imali smo jednu veoma važnu stvar, bili smo nekvalitetni, ali jedna stvar je bila dobra.
No matter if we didn't understand why something should be done,
Nema veze, ako nismo shvatili ono što treba napraviti,
no matter if we didn't agree with something that we heard from our upline,
nema veze ako nismo mi složili se s uplineom šta treba napraviti.
always,
Uvijek,
immediately,
s mjesta odmah,
we applied everything he said to us.
s mjesta smo napravili sve, bilo sve šta nam on kazao.
When you have built a business for 6 months without an upline help,
Ako biste vi gradili posao 6 mjeseci bez pomoći uplinea,
when you have one, you appreciate it.
ako ste to napravili, onda kad ga imate, onda znate da ga cijenite.
So from trip to trip, that's true.
Hvala. Znači, kroz ovaj put,
So from trip to trip of Peter to Greece,
iz više puta kad je Peter dolazio u Grčku,
we started realizing how the system works,
počeli smo shvaćati kako sistem radi
and we started understanding what was being said at the tapes,
i počeli smo shvaćati šta uopće želi da nam trakovi kasete da nam kažu
and slowly we started doing the right things.
i polako počeli smo raditi prave stvari.
Then the first weekend seminar in Greece came.
I tada došao prvi vikend seminar u Grčkoj.
It was fantastic.
Bilo je ono izvanredno, fantastično.
It cannot be described.
Ovo ne može da se opiše riječima.
When we came out of there,
Kad smo došli van,
we were so fired up,
bili smo tako
we were
nakureni,
ready to conquer the world.
bili smo zapaljeni da pobjedimo cijeli svijet.
And we understood that the seminars and the weekend seminars are irreplaceable in this business.
I shvatili smo da je vikend seminar nezamjenjiva stvar u ovom poslu.
So in November 1996,
11. mjeseca 96.
just after this weekend, Peter came again in Greece.
Nakon ovog seminara Peter opet došao u Grčku.
And he said that, let me explain you something first.
Neko vam najprije nešto objasnim, da se razumijemo.
We had just recovered from our 3% drop,
Tek smo se usporavili od onih paca na 3%.
and we were at 9% again.
I opet smo došli natrag na 9%.
So he said to us that we have to be at the Go Diamond Europe that was being held in Antalya in May 1997.
I tad u 11. mjesecu Peter nam kaže da mi trebamo da smo na jednom seminaru koji se zove Go Diamond sljedeće godine u Antaliji u 5. mjesecu.
We couldn't understand what would be the difference from the weekend we just saw.
Mi nismo znali koja će biti razlika na tom specijalnom seminaru na kojem su samo ljudi u 21% dalje.
Is there something bigger than a weekend seminar?
Pitali smo se da li postoji nešto veće što je uopće vikend seminar.
Peter said,
A Peter nam je kazao,
be there
budite tamo
and you will find out the difference.
i sami ćete saznat koja je razlika.
You need to be 21%.
Trebate da ste na 21%,
You need to be 21% by the end of March.
trebate da ste na 21% kad završi 3. mjesec.
See you in Natalia.
I vidimo se u Antaliji.
And he left.
I otišao.
So, this was a turning point in our business.
To je bila prokretnica u našem poslu.
We were at 9% and we had to be 21% in 4 months.
Znači, bili smo na 9% i u 4 mjeseci trebali da dođemo na 21.
We didn't know how to do it.
Nismo imali pojma kako da to napravimo.
We didn't know what it was going to take.
Nismo znali šta treba napraviti.
And we didn't care.
I bilo nam je biti svejedno.
We were fired up.
Ali bili smo nakureni.
We wanted to show to our upline that we deserve his time.
Svom uplineom smo želi pokazati da mi zaslužimo njihovo vreme.
We wanted him to be proud of us.
Željeli smo da je on ponosan na nas.
We wanted to show him that we deserve to be in his team.
Željeli smo pokazati da mi zaslužimo da smo dio njegovog tima.
We wanted to be his key players in Greece.
Željeli smo biti njegovi najbolji igrači u Grčkoj.
And the decision was made again.
I ova odluka opet je bila donesena.
And his last words, see you in Antalya,
I ove posljedne riječi, vidimo se u Antaliji,
were echoing in our minds every day.
bile si poput eha u našim ušima, svaki dan su se nam vraćale.
We had made a decision to be there,
Odlučili smo jednostavno da budemo tamo.
no matter what.
Nema veze bilo šta.
I don't remember many things from these 4 months.
I iz ovih 4 mjeseca u biti ja se ne sjećam puno stvari.
I just remember tapes flying all over,
Sjećam se samo da su kasete ljetele po zraku,
tickets of BBSs being sold like crazy,
karte od BBS-a su se prodavale kao lude.
Amway kids coming and going, dozens.
MV paketovi su samo došli, desetine i stotine paketova.
It was a period full of enthusiasm and with craziness.
To je bio ono, znate, period uzbuđenja, entuzijazma i ljudi.
What I remember very well
Ali sjećam se jedne stvari veoma dobro.
is that because of one decision,
Da zbog jedne odluke,
the next month was 12% and Leaders Club.
sljedeći mjesec postigli smo 12% i Leaders Club.
January was ELC 15%.
U prvom mjesecu postigli smo 15% i Executive Leaders Club.
February was 18%
U drugom mjesecu godine 18%.
and March was Silver Producers.
I treći mjesec Silveri.
And only then we realized
I tek tada mi smo shvatili
that we had also April to achieve this level.
da u biti postoji još 4. mjesec u kojem bismo mogli da dostižemo ovaj.
The Go Diamond was in May.
Jer u biti ovaj seminar Go Diamond održao se u 5. mjesecu.
Peter had said March to be sure.
Ali Petar nam je dao, znate, 3. mjesec samo da bude siguran.
March, he said.
Ako u 3. napravite,
March, we did it.
i u 3. je kazao, u 3. smo napravili.
And what happened next is that we went there.
I sljedeće što se dogodilo je,
And I'm telling
otišli smo
you,
tamo.
Peter was right.
I kažem vam nešto,
It cannot,
Peter je imao pravo.
it cannot be described.
Ne može da se opiše riječima.
You have to be there to see it with your own eyes and to feel it with your own heart.
Jednostavno trebate biti tamo, vidjeti to na svoje oči i osjećati svojim srcem.
This seminar was my starting point.
Ovaj seminar bio je početna točka.
The Go Diamond in Antalya was my seminar.
Ovaj Go Diamond seminar u Antaliji bio je moj seminar.
It touched my heart.
Dodirnuo je moje srce.
At that weekend, my life changed.
Tog vikenda moj život se promijenio.
I remember on Saturday night in Antalya after the seminar,
Sjećam se u subotu navečer u Antaliji nakon seminara.
I couldn't sleep.
Jednostavno nisam mogao da spavam.
I went out of the bungalow and went to the beach,
Otišao sam van na plažu.
stayed there all night, thinking of what I really want to do in my life.
U biti cijele noći sjedeo na plaži i razmišljao o onom što ja zapravo želim u životu.
I remembered the picture I had seen on the screen, on the TV screen, when I was 10 years old.
I tad mi je ona slika koju sam vidio kad mi je bilo 10 godina na televiziji, ona slika mi došla u glavu.
With that person playing the piano in a big hall.
Vidio sam čovjeka koji svira klavir i veliko salo.
The picture that created my dream to be an orchestra conductor and a pianist.
Slika koja me kreirala moj san da postanem dirigent u orkestri.
And what I realized
I ono što sam shvatio,
is that what I have seen as my dream
da ono što sam ja video kao svoje snove,
when I was 10 years old,
kad mi je bilo 10 godina,
was a person playing music, playing the piano.
bila je osoba koja igrala muziku, koja je igrala piano.
Exactly 10 years later, when I was 20 years old, at that beach,
I nakon 10 godina, kad sam imao 20 na ovoj plaži,
in the same picture,
u ovoj istoj sliki,
I saw the person being on stage in front of thousands of people.
vidio sam osobu koja stoji na pozornici ispred tisuću i tisuću ljudi.
I realized that that picture had touched me when I was 10 years old,
I shvatio sam da me ova slika dirnula kad sam imao 10 godina,
not because of music being played,
ne zbog glazbe koja se svirala,
but because of this person being recognized on stage.
ali zbog onog kako su tretirali ovog čovjeka i koje poštovanje imao jer je bio na prozornici.
I realized that night that what I wanted was to be significant.
Ove noći shvatio sam da stvar koju ja želim je da budem nešto posebno.
I wanted to do something worthwhile.
Želio sam da radim nešto značajno.
I wanted to make a difference.
Želio sam da napravim razliku.
I was 10 years old and I saw the pianist.
Kod 10 godina video sam čovjeka koji svira klavir.
I was 20 years old and I saw what I really wanted to become.
A kod 20 godina jednostavno sam zapravo shvatio što želim.
I wanted to become a winner.
Želio sam postati pobjednik.
When we came back from Antalya, I was a completely different person.
I kad sam se vratio s Antalije, bio sam sasvim drugi čovjek.
I started building the business effectively,
Počeo sam efektivno da gradim ovaj posao,
showing lots of plans.
pokazivao puno planova.
I became gold eagle the first 3 months after Antalya in summer without a car,
Naravno, u prva 3 mjeseca bez to da sam imao auto, postao sam zlati orao.
driving with the whiteboard and the kit around Athens with buses and with trains with 40 degrees.
Vozio se sa belom tablom, početnim paketom kroz Atene s vlakom, autobusom,
I
kod 40
started-
stupnjeva.
I started applying the right principles in depth
I počeo da stavljam prave principe da ih prihvaćam u ovaj posao, u dubinu.
and understanding the importance and the value of the system.
Shvatio sam značaj vrijednosti sistema i gradnje dubine.
I started flying and driving and sailing the miles over Greece to build depth.
Počeo sam graditi posao po cijeloj Grčki, gradio dubino i vozio kilometre.
I'm telling you,
Kažem vam nešto.
building the business by what you have invented
Da gradite posao s onim što ste vi sumili
or building the business by the system
ili graditi posao po sistemu,
is a great difference.
velika je razlika.
So, to conclude,
Da zaključimo sve ovo,
we may have done many mistakes in our journey,
možda smo u biti napravili puno grešaka na svom
but
putu,
for the one thing we are proud of
ali postoji jedna stvar na kojoj smo ponosni.
is that no matter the circumstances, the crazy circumstances,
To je da nema veze bile koje su bile okolnosti, ljude, bilo šta se dogodilo.
no matter the difficulties at the beginning,
Nema veze bilo šta je bilo na početku.
it has never crossed our minds
Nikad nam nije prošlo kroz
to quit this business.
da bismo
Never.
odustali, napustili ovaj posao.
We have never thought we are not going to succeed.
Nikad nismo ni pomislili na to da bismo odustali od ovog posla.
Because we know
Jer znali smo
that no matter what is happening in your life,
da nema veze bilo šta se događa u vašem životu,
you are responsible for where it goes.
vi ste odgovorni za ono i kamo idete i šta se događa u vašem životu.
You make the map
Vi to odlučite.
and you travel the journey.
Vi putujete vaš put.
And the dream is something important enough for us to give it our best,
I snovi, ono što vi želite, ono je najvažnije.
no matter what.
Nema veze bilo šta.
Have a nice time.
Imate se lijepo. Ćao.